All right, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sunny Days of Detroit show. We are live with our post game here. 2 days later, Lions 42, Broncos 17, an absolute ass whooping in the den. Vikings lose that same day. As most of you know, one more win. The Lions take the end. That would lead to the Lions taking the NFC North. For the first time in the history of the actual NFC North division since it was created after, what was that, 2002 during the expansion?
Before that, right? Or maybe it
know.
was 2002. That might be
It was
right.
before my time.
Before one care.
So
that's about right.
We had in no particular order, Laporta scored 3 times. Amon-Ra St. Brown flipped into the end zone. Gibbs had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. All in all, Jared Goff was a little shy of 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers, 134 passer rating. Ife Melifonwu with a sack, Josh Pascal with a sack, or as the commentator called him, John Pascal. But that's all right. We'll accept that. Anyway we see Pascal in the stat sheet, we'll take it. Doesn't matter if they get the name right. Boys, Pavo, you were there. What'd you see? What'd you feel? Playoff atmosphere.
Before I go talking about that, like me and Pat argued about this. It's one of our many arguments during the week. Pat likes to debate. You said Lions need one more win. Do you call it a? We're arguing. Do you call it a magic number in the NFL? I was saying the magic number is 3. Pat says you don't talk about magic numbers only in baseball.
It's same shit. Who gives a fuck? Magic number.
That's what I say.
Who gives a fuck? The magic number is 11.
When you have so few games, it's just like
Yeah.
I need 2 wins and then to lose 1, rather than like we do 3 magic numbers, and that means the magic.
But you can't call it 2 wins last week because last week
you say if we win this week and next week, the Vikings are out. That's all you got to say, and I think it makes it more complicated using the magic number formula in a sport that has so.
But it's only if we win this week because we're playing them.
Well, yeah, that's
no, not necessarily. We could be playing. Well, yeah, I guess whatever because we're playing them. But
because
they can't
the
get
magic
to.
number was 3.
It counts for 2.
They can't get to anything more than 11. They can't get to anything more.
The magic
than
number
10.
is 1. The magic number is 1, and we need to either win 1 or they need to lose 1.
No, because the Packers would still be alive. If we lose out, then it becomes then the Packers would get in.
But but that's why if we win 1, that's the magic number 1. They're both out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not out of the playoffs. They're out of the division though.
Out of the division.
Yeah.
The lock of the division was the conversation.
Yeah. All right. So Paul, you were at the game. Tell us.
What did I see?
What did you see? What did you hear?
I don't think you could hear anything there.
I heard I didn't see it on the broadcast, but I was also on the Blue Sodas that night. So good chance I was shaking myself. Apparently the cameras were shaking on the broadcast. The stadium was so loud.
Yeah, it's I'll say this. This is what I will say. There's a special vibe about Saturday night football, especially late in the year. And I'm telling you, if they could get a crowd, if we could host a playoff game, I don't want to jinx them, and have it at home on Saturday night in the wild card round or in the second round, that's the prime time game. That's when people can relax. They don't got to go to work on Sunday. They could have a few extra ones. They're not worried about anything but having a good time. And that atmosphere in downtown, walking in that stadium was special. It's different than a Monday night game because you could relax. So it was loud in there. People let loose. So it was from the get-go walking into that stadium and you know what? I almost felt like all the negativity you heard all week, like almost just, I don't know if people had a few drinks and they lost their negativity and like all their nervousness. But it was great. It was great. Lions did exactly what I thought they were going to do 2 weeks ago. I thought they finally were going to clean up their messes starting this week against Denver. And I talked to a few Bronco fans going into that stadium, and I talked to a few Bronco fans in Philly flying to Detroit that were really, really confident. They thought they matched up as well. They thought we're a turnover team. We're going to turn the ball over. They know how to create turnovers. And they were just walking the stadium as 4 guys saying, we got this. We're not even worried about you guys. So they were cocky. Maybe the team was a little cocky. I think the Lions showed what Dan Campbell has installed in them, that they bounce back after losing. And they came out from the get-go and they played off the energy of the fans. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you guys chime in what you guys saw. But as a fan standpoint, the fans did what they did. They did from the get-go, from the beginning of the game, got the fans involved with Bugs, the sack, the fumble, the pick it up. Everyone loves seeing a big man rumble down the field. I mean, he should have pitched it back to Iffy, but like when you see a big guy running like that, it's special. The last guy I remember running down the field like that, I believe it was against Denver too.
Sean Rogers.
Yes, on the 3-yard line. And that
before my time, but I've seen the highlight.
Sean Rogers, the last time I remember seeing a D tackle pick up a ball and rumble down the field. Shit was shaking. It was good. So, but yeah, it was a great atmosphere. It was a great, as a fan, to be down there.
I want to say Sue had one of those at one point.
I'm sure he did, but he wasn't fat.
No.
Yeah, he's a little more on the athletic side.
And I know Bug's got a lot of muscle, so I don't want to take this personal, but he's. No,
and good for Bugs. Like, we're not in the analysis yet, but like fucking A, good for Bugs. Like a guy that's been a healthy scratch a few times this year, a guy that definitely thought he should be starting, a guy that we all thought was going to be starting coming out of camp. Like it was a shock to all of us when he was inactive going into Kansas City. Like I'm happy for Bugs because listen, like we're not in the locker room. Like all we do is we just hear things. Like I don't know what the guy's like to sit next to every day in meetings. Like I don't know the type of guy he is, but this was like a no-name guy that came on this roster last year and actually like played well alongside Aleem McNeil, especially second half of the year. And it was a guy that I was like kind of looking forward to going into the season. Like, okay, they didn't make a lot of moves at D tackle. We obviously all had the Jalen Carter debate. They decided to not go that route. They went with Gibbs. They went with Jack Campbell. And so most of us as fans, I think, like we were expecting big things out of McNeil solely based off his big second half and the progression that we saw. But I was expecting a lot out of Bugs. I'm not saying all pro stuff, but I was expecting him to play every week. So long and short of it is, good for you, Isaiah Bugs. This has absolutely earned you. This should earn him a start this week in Minnesota. I mean, if it doesn't, I don't understand. Like at some point, I'd love to know what the issue was. But
it might not the way this season's going. I wouldn't be at this point. I wouldn't be sorry if he's not even dressed.
I can't.
We're gonna get in after, but Lions got some really big roster decisions to make here coming up really soon.
Well, what's his face? I guess we'll get into
it.
Yeah. Go to Pat for. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. I think there's really three things I noticed in this game. First, we'll cover quick because like I thought this would be much closer than like the scoreboard was, mainly because it's just two coaches that know each other well. And like a lot of times when you see those kind of coaches face each other, they keep it pretty tight, know what each other can do. First quarter looked that way. And one thing before I get in the actual game with Campbell, I think one thing that we saw of kind of his evolution of like what he's learned over the years and who he is as a coach was really on display when you saw Peyton chewing out Russell Wilson on the sideline. That is not something Campbell does on the sideline in public. He keeps it for back of the house. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, again, I think we all talk about how the game's evolving, like the Belichick systems. Like the Belichick system doesn't work because it's just, we saw it with Patricia, and it just doesn't really resonate with guys because like only one guy could really formulate that. Peyton, I think, is kind of one of the same. They're from that old school mentality. I think Campbell understands like being a player. I think he has a little bit of a different perspective. And I really enjoyed like kind of how he kept his cool at any point in that game, and Peyton was just losing his goddamn mind. So it was good that everything's learned Belichick or from Parcells, Peyton, everything, and you just kind of seeing him being able to keep his cool. And he does get a little red faced every now and then, but just want to point that out because that was something I did notice. I'm like, man, I'm just awesome thing. I don't ever see him do that on the sideline. It's just good kind of like thing to notice. But the game itself, I thought was interesting because it seems like they came out with expecting, I think, the Broncos defense to maybe carbon copy what the Bears had done to stop us in two separate games, with pretty good success in that, right? Just kind of taking away the middle of the field and making like Jared Goff kind of really earn the yards in areas he doesn't love to throw to consistently. And they did that to a T in both games. They came out, it seemed like on the offensive side with that game plan. I think they were doing a lot of up the middle running and then outside passes. and it just wasn't working. It seems like that's exactly how the Broncos game planned. They made an adjustment and started going across the middle, started with that pass to Jameson Williams, the first reception he had. And it seems like at that moment, they just started focusing back to their reverting to what's been successful all season and taking advantage of that middle, and everything they gave them, they took advantage of. And they found every soft spot in that defense all day long. Because whether they're playing that takeaway middle of the field kind of Chicago mentality or not, they have good defenders. And they took advantage of them all across the board. It didn't seem like they could cover anyone or anyone could be stopped. And then Jamo making incredible catches, Goff making great throws. They were just hitting on every goddamn cylinder from the second quarter on. And they were able to kind of take off the gas a little bit in the second half because they were, getting such a commanding lead and the defense was playing great. And then on the other side of the ball, I just look at it as the defense played great. But the one thing that I love, and they're starting to send guys in, I think, unique ways. They sent, I think, defensive backs 9 times on pass rushes for blitzes, which is huge. That's like what, 13, 15% of the plays of total. Like that's a lot. And like they're dialing up pressure in new ways. I don't know what the hell it took so long, but it's nice to see that they're finally doing
this is what we've been talking about, Pat. Like at some point you need to figure it out. You need to do something different. If the personnel you have are not getting the job done, you need to, as a coordinator, figure something out. And they did a couple of wonky things in there, not to cut you off, Pat. They did a couple of there was a point, third and whatever it was, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. They Hutchinson got subbed out and Jack Campbell gets put in at the edge. And of course, the Broncos got a first down. So like there was still a couple of wonky, weird things, but for the most part, hats off to Aaron Glenn. You recognized a fucking problem and you did something about it like a coordinator should do. And you didn't just keep throwing shit at the wall hoping it stuck. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I think that was it's so eloquently put. And like I think it's so true, but I watch these games and it doesn't seem like there's any continuity week to week with the defense. Like it seems like they kind of like, we see some tidbits that we like from each game. Maybe the defensive backs played well in one game. Maybe the defensive front played well in one game. Linebackers, probably the one area I think that has been pretty consistent all season. Barnes, Campbell, Anzalone, they've all played pretty solid for most of the year. That's the only position I think they can kind of hang their hat on. Like, hey, we're pretty good here. And hats off to I forget the defensive or the linebackers coach's name, but he's just been doing a bang up job since he got here, in my opinion. Even on what was the show?
Kelvin Shepherd
on Hard Knocks. Like he just seemed like such a likable guy. And I was like, man, like this, like, and then seeing what he did with Malcolm Rodriguez in the first year, like when they didn't really have much other option, how they developed in Zalone, even in his second team. There's a lot of things to like about what they're doing there, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think Iffy's like one we brought up a few times over the last few weeks, like even like, just kind of like, why isn't he playing? And then he started playing, had a kind of like, get right game, played kind of good, had some like bright spots, some soft spots. And then this game just fucking showed out. And I think they knew this. They saw this in this kid, his athleticism coming out of Syracuse. When you looked at his rats, like when you looked at his comp, you're like, my God, like this guy's athleticism, like peak. He's huge. He's big. He's fast. He's strong. Couldn't stay healthy. Now we're seeing what healthy Iffy could potentially look like. And you pair that with this TJ Gardner-Johnson or whatever the hell he's going by these days. Like that is something that you can start getting behind on the defensive side of the ball.
We have a couple of comments. I just want to give these guys a shout out. Our buddy Cass over at That's My Sports. Laporta, of course, he wanted to go off when I was out of the playoffs. Listen, man, Laporta's been going off all season. I don't know if you've been under a rock. No, I know the last week he was a little quiet against the Bears, but big bounce back game for him. And then shout out to Stevie Mack. Just keep giving the ball to Gibbs. Stevie, from your lips to God's ears, man. This is Gibbs is a blessing. He's certainly dunking on all the draft experts out there that were calling this. Actually, you know what? I'll call one out here. And he doesn't watch this because he works for CBS and he makes a lot of money. Tom Fernelli, I'm looking right at you, pal. All right, known Illinois and Chicago Bears fan, saying that the Lions won the 1985 NFL draft. Well, you know what, man? I think that 1985 draft is looking pretty damn good. We got a running back nobody knows how to stop. We got a tight end nobody knows how to stop. A safety that's got 2 pick sixes on the season, and Jack Campbell, who's slowly progressing along here. I'd say Brad Holmes
he
did
crushed
quite
it.
the job.
He crushed it.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, it's. I know how Jalen Carter is going to be a stud, but by giving up on Jalen Carter, we got Gibbs and Laporta. 5 touchdowns and 5 touchdowns.
I would do the same thing. I would do
it
today.
all day right now. And I love Jalen Carter, but
Gibbs might be the most dynamic player on this team. From a pure talent perspective, he might be the best player we have on offense.
Here's a couple of tweets. Someone tweeted about Jamar Gibbs after they drafted.
Paul, he's got the receipts.
If Jamar Gibbs is Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's still a bad pick. Someone tweeted. This is Edward Egros. This is another guy tweeted out for Prop Geek Squeak whatever. Jamar Gibbs could literally be an All-Pro this year, and it's a wasted pick. Laughable bad pick by Detroit with Jamar Gibbs at 12. I mean, I think I saw the stat earlier. In the last 8 games, Jamar Gibbs is averaging 17. Jahmyr Gibbs is averaging 17 touches a game, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Like, we made a post about comparing him to Barry Sanders rookie year, and he's right on par with it. Yeah. Right on par. After missing 2 games, not being Sanders came in his rookie year and he didn't play the whole first half, basically. Came in the second half, and from that point on, he touched the boy 20, 25 times. I think he had like 360 yards, but he had 1,700 like total yards as a rookie. Gibbs is at like 1,100 with 3 games to go, and he didn't play in 2 games.
Yeah.
Like, he is unbelievable, this kid. He's dynamic. He's a stud. And you know what? You were upset about the pick too.
I was. Well, listen, if you
wanted your boy from Texas.
Yeah, I wanted Bijan. And I think 9 out of 10 people, if you put a gun to their head in that moment, would have told you, give me Bijan.
No, I don't either. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I think
what do you have? 11 carries for 7 yards.
7 yards. I don't think Atlanta's doing the right things by him right now.
Yeah.
That being said, listen, I'm glad to be wrong on Jahmyr.
So can I?
I was just saying, it's funny because I know it's always easy from a Detroit perspective to make the Barry comparison. Like, to me, I see LT all fucking day long in this kid, and that's like what I see. Because I know you hear Kamara from because they come from New Orleans. You hear Barry because it's Detroit. LaDainian Tomlinson is who this kid reminds me of.
Yeah, he doesn't remind me of Barry as like the run
style.
Exactly.
There's no Barry. There's never going to be another Barry.
No, he just reminds me of the energy he brings to the run game and how you got to what he can do with the ball.
It's so exposed.
And you know what? He hasn't even hit his peak or closest peak this year. Like, he has so much ability. But let me give you guys just something that I saw that kind of like, I'm not here like, that big of a nerd looking at stats. But like, I read this earlier and I thought it was kind of shocking. So with our starting offensive line this year, do you know what our record is?
5-0.
I would say undefeated.
Undefeated.
It's definitely undefeated. Yeah.
So you maybe you Pav saw. So let me read this out here because I was like,
do we know what, because this does matter? Do we know which games those were? If it's like Carolina,
definitely Kansas City.
Yeah, like that's what
Kansas City and Denver.
Well, Kansas City.
Yep.
Yeah.
Denver. So
Denver, San Diego, because then Jonah went out after that game.
Yeah, they didn't have Decker against Seattle, right? Decker was out for the Seattle game.
Yeah, but listen, let's just talk. They're 5-0.
He was in a walking boot after.
Hold on, they're 5-0. They
right.
average 38.4 points a game. They average 421 yards on a game, and they average 179 rushing yards a game, 5.5 yards a carry. Like, you want to have success here in the next 3 weeks and in the playoffs? There's your success.
If there's a championship at the end of this season, I think you build Hank Fraley a statue outside of Ford Field. Not a knock on anybody else, but this guy has totally revamped this O-line.
Dude,
from the day he walked in.
I was snapping pictures of Hank Fraley during warmups, and I don't know what I was going to use him, but he was going fixing the pylon, doing like little shit. I don't know if he has some. I never watched him in warmup, but he was just like fixing things, picking stuff off the turf. Yeah. So you could tell like he has something about him. Everything needs to be perfect. Some kind of game ritual he goes through. But like he's an absolute stud. What was I was going to say?
And we stole him from Philly.
I don't know. Right? Was he coaching here in Philly? He played in Philly. He's from Philly. He played for the Eagles. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm actually curious. I'm not even sure where he came from. I know they tried to get him over in Pittsburgh, but we had to keep him here.
But going back to what you guys talked about, where's this defense been? Like, is it like I feel bad because he's a nice guy. But Jacobs, like, I think it's just showing like that you disappear in the liability of just you can't cover anybody. And like I know Vilder, I think he played. Let's see, Vilder was our number 1 rated player on PFF at 82.7. Now he only played I think like 21 snaps, but him and Cam Staunton were the top 2. Levi was third with a 73.6, Aiden Hutchinson, and then Isaiah Buggs. But all the second he played better, and I think maybe they have more faith in these players and Kyle Dorsey, Vilder, playing opposite of Cam Sutton, which they allowed him to, and then maybe they have more. Maybe they have more now trust in like if he played it as a safety covering than they did with Tracy Walker.
I think also a lot of guys just had a great game. Buggs had a great game. Pascal was in the backfield a lot of the game. Aiden Hutchinson, we've been calling for him. Aiden, time to do something, right? Like Paul, you've been on his ass. And what did he do? What did he respond with? Did he get a sack? No, but he tipped the ball. He got his hands on Russell Wilson twice. That could have caused on third down both times. Hey, you asked me, that's a fucking sack right there. That's a
one time it was almost intercepted by Kirby. Just short. And then it was another play that was another big. It was twice.
Like he found a way to get himself in there. So I think it was a combination of Jerry Jacobs not being on the field, Ife Melifonwu, swapping in and out with Tracy Walker, but I think it was just everyone collectively playing significantly better. And Aaron Glenn called a different game. Let's be honest. Like, when was the last time we saw a safety blitz on this team? Maybe other than like Brian Branch in week 2.
Monday Night Football.
Okay.
We only do it on prime
month
time
ago.
at home.
Yeah, only in prime time, which thank God playoff games are in prime time.
Yeah. If they see some things will work in our favor unintentionally.
Cass is asking us a question here, but Pavo, I know we don't have too much time. I know this is going to start a war over here. So we could table this.
Sure, let's fucking go at it. Let me.
Let's finish up with the Broncos. What else do we have on this game? I mean,
dude, it was all 3 phases were good. Like this doesn't take much analysis or much talk for anyone that watched that game to know it was just a dominant performance, and it's what they needed. Now you got to parlay that into another one away at the Vikings, get them out of the play, clinch it right there from a division perspective, and fucking hurrah, like knowing we're going to go into the playoffs, raising that fucking banner. So like, it's a huge game still. And like, I think it's a great test too, because like it or not, it's still good defense over there in Minnesota. They still got a great defensive coordinator. They got better.
Brian Flores is a great coordinator.
So it's still another good test. Like, I don't with the whole offensive situation with their quarterback, whatever that is whatever that is. But for our offense perspective, I just look at it as a good opportunity for them to like get another test against a good defense and be successful. Do that again, and then you go into the Dallas game with some like real momentum on offense, and like you're starting to cook a little bit. This is exactly like a win I wanted badly. Like just like a good, convincing offensive performance, some good players like on both sides of the ball. This blew my expectations out of the water. If they can carry that momentum, it's going to be huge.
I was so desperate. I was saying, like, I don't care what you win by, just win.
Yeah.
I don't care if you cover a spread. I don't care whatever.
Yeah, you put your money on the Broncos.
I did. Well, I took a teaser. I got him at 11.5.
And how did that work out?
And hey, listen, I'm happy to be proven wrong. But what have we seen the past 4 weeks?
Hey, victory laps
the way the Broncos
easy.
looked.
Victory laps are easy, pal. I didn't hear one with Chicago or any other bad loss we took. So
no, but we've been calling it. We're going to turn around this game, like
that. You had to.
Yeah.
There's no if and but it had to happen here.
So and you know what? Before you go, that's what's so great about. That's what is so reassuring about at least Dan Campbell is that. How many times since we've been fans of this team have we said, "Man, they gotta fucking win this game. They gotta fucking win," and then they come like, you know what this makes me think of? Jim Caldwell, and since the Christmas Eve game, like 2017, the nail in his coffin, right? When all the Jim Caldwell apologists and fans and the team's just not that great. Like that was the big shut the fuck up game. That was like, no, this guy's not good. He's a plateau. Okay, he is a 9-7. He is 9-7, and that's the best. That's the best he is. That's the best it's ever gonna be, and that's your proof right there. We need to win that game, and we didn't do it. And credit to Dan and his staff and these players. This was a game we've been talking about for a while as the Broncos started to turn things around, and especially with the Lions skid that they had, we were saying it. Like everybody was saying, you got to win this fucking game, because we went into this weekend thinking Minnesota might beat the Bengals and the Packers.
No, we did not think that.
I would say a lot of people.
I said on the show. They will
did.
not bid.
A lot of people thought
they had a chance. They got a good defense, and they're playing
right
quarterback.
And
Browning's been playing
at a
great,
minimum.
without a doubt, but like
At a minimum, most people had the Packers beating the Buccaneers.
Do you know who
right?
cut Brown? Do you know who cut Browning?
The Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. Hats off to them for winning a game. We looked at them and said, you need to win this game.
Sorry.
And they did it. Hats off to them.
yeah, it was good.
All right. Are we going to talk about Jared Goff?
We could talk about. Are we good? Are we good on the Broncos?
So I got it. So there's nothing left to talk about the Broncos.
Yeah.
They had a nice flight home. I saw a few of their fans.
Did
today
you
at the
wave?
airport.
Did you wave to the plane, Paul?
I honestly just, you know what? I think we talked about this. Like, shouldn't be saying this before the game. And you said, I'm like, listen. Sometimes I wish bad things of players. Sometimes I wish bad things of people. Like not like death, but like a broken leg. I hope their flight has an emergency landing in Chicago. Delay their arrival in Denver.
Diarrhea on the plane.
Yeah, you guys talk shit walking into the stadium. I wish you shit leaving. But anyways, so my question. This is my thing. I know Jared Goff didn't play well. I think Jared Goff was didn't play. You know what? Taylor.
What, Saturday?
No.
Oh, I was like
2-3 weeks prior.
I was going to say
he went to a streak. Yeah.
Yep.
But I love how Ragnow made sure that everyone saw his post. Taylor Decker made a post about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jared Goff had an attitude this week. He was pissed.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny how like people said, and like I'm not trying to say this, Pat, because I know you said this. This is my thing when someone says, you want to tell me he's limited, he can't run. We all know he can't run. But when someone tells me, oh, he peaked too early. What the fuck does peak too early mean? Peak too early means like you got to the top and you're never gonna get there again. Like that's what a peak is. Oh, you peaked about. So that's saying like
I think people say they're talking about like the season because ebbs and flows is a thing in football, and people.
So
get
you were so confident. You were so confident he can't reach that play again. You said he peaked too early in the year. And now we got this Jared Goff guy who played for the Rams at the end of the year, and this is why they traded him. Like having no confidence that he could go out and do this again.
Do what again?
Play at a high level. Yeah.
Play at an MVP level that he played at. Throw for 5 touchdowns, complete passes, dominate the game. Like that's what he did.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's always like it's the evidence of a good game is always evidence of the better side of it, and like the evidence of a bad golf isn't enough evidence to say he can't be the guy for people that love golf, and that's the problem with me. I watch what he does. I see his limitations. You can look at his charts, the way he throws, how deep he's throwing. He does have a pattern. And that is very real. And that's why I go.
And what's that pattern? What's that? Because you made a point.
Field, go look at all of his throwing charts on Next Gen Stats. You can go look at them. Everyone has access to them. They're free online. And you can see exactly where he throws all of his balls. And it is a shape like this.
Okay. Now, did you go look at all the other quarterbacks in the league?
Yes.
Oh, you looked at everyone. You broke them down.
I went to the one guy that we're going to compare him the most down, Matthew Stafford. And guess where that is? All over the field, downfield, sidelines, middle, everywhere.
Listen.
It's a throwing thing. It's a preference. Like
here's
my thing. Why can't people have a preference of the cut?
No, you said he peaked at a certain level. Peak means he can't
peak in my
Yes,
life.
you did. I'll find it. Last week. You said he peaked. Jared Goff peaked, and now we have this. And he's gonna hold us back.
If I could get
I don't remember, but I'll believe
if I could get a little word in here.
Go ahead.
Like I am with a lot of things in life and on this show, I think the truth with Jared Goff is somewhere in the middle of what both of you were saying. And I think it's a fair, like, there's a reason Jared Goff was drafted first overall. Like, bad quarterbacks, guys that could play the position, like Jamarcus Russell was not a bad quarterback. He didn't study. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't care about what he was doing. If Jamarcus Russell gave a fuck, he'd probably still be in the league today. Or he'd be an analyst somewhere talking about his glory days in Oakland. Like, that's just a fact, okay? And there's also a reason that Jared Goff was traded here. There's also a reason they traded for Matt Stafford. It's somewhere in the middle. You know what I think our future should be with Jared Goff? We should we shouldn't make a decision on that right now. Let's see how let's see how this potential playoff run goes first and foremost. Okay, because if Jared Goff goes and wins you a Super Bowl, I don't think anybody's telling you not to sign that extension, right? But if things don't go our way in the playoffs, maybe we're thinking about. Here's the fact of the matter: Jared's got one more year left on this deal. Hendon Hooker was drafted last year. I don't know what their plan is with Hendon Hooker. All I can tell you is that they drafted him. That's what you know. That's what I know. That's what we all know, is that they drafted him.
Well, they're going to activate it. They're going to activate it to the 53-man roster.
And we'll get into that. I don't think it's an issue to let Jared's contract play out. See how things go. You shouldn't rush into signing him because he's been successful. You shouldn't rush into signing him a year early. Why? What if there's something in Hendon Hooker? Or what if Ben Johnson leaves next year and we see a different side of Jared Goff?
Ben Johnson.
And you can't tell me. No, just hear me out, Paul. I'm not done. You can't tell me that it won't happen because it hasn't happened yet. Let's see how things go. And ultimately, Jared likes it here. The fans, for the most part, I think they're quicker to turn on Jared, but they were quick to turn on Stafford too. That's the way sports fans are. The quarterback touches the ball on every play. You're going to be quick to turn on him when the team loses.
Listen,
let things play out.
No one fucking liked Matt Stafford in Detroit until like the last year or two, and then everyone bitched like they're the biggest Matt Stafford fan once he left.
I liked him from day one.
I think
you did. No, Pat, you did, and I know you did. But everyone bitched about Stafford.
Yeah,
get him out of it. No one liked Stafford.
But we're talking about right now.
Okay, so
we're talking about right now.
It's simple. Either Goff's going to win one in the next 3 years, or he's not. And some people are going to be right, and some people are going to be wrong. There's no in between. So that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so Matt, I agree with what you're saying. For the people that are trying to tell me that what we saw from Jared Goff the last 3 games against Bears, Packers,
Bears
New Orleans,
and
New Orleans and Bears. That's who the real Stafford is. And now we're showing you Jared Goff. Now we're showing you who he is. Like, they ignore everything else that happened before then. And they're like, now it's going back to where he was, and this is why the Rams traded him. And like, he can't have a bad 4 weeks.
I think the problem is
what's the problem?
The problem is that Goff, when it does go bad, the wheels it crashes off the side of a cliff.
You remember Stafford when shit went bad?
And how many times was he the reason it went good?
How many times is Jared Goff the reason it went good? Because you don't give no credit.
Oh, but wait. Why does the comparison? Wait, time out.
Why did you bring it?
Time out. I understand.
You got a smirk on your face acting like Jared Goff had nothing to do with the success on Sunday.
I didn't say that once.
Okay, so then explain.
You don't ever look at the difference of a guy that goes and makes a fucking play and a guy that goes and makes the right read.
All right, so explain it to me.
There's multiple times this season. I know Matt's seen it. He's texted me where there's a guy running wide the fuck open and he doesn't even see the guy on the field.
Do you know how many times Matt Stafford missed a guy wide open?
Why does Matt Stafford matter?
Because you just compare him a guy who makes a play.
He's not our quarterback.
All right. I can't win this.
If you're evaluating for the future, it's about what the future looks like, not what the past did.
I would
say the guy in front of it, not the guy before us.
All right.
I would say after a season.
You know how excited Pat was to text George, "I told you so," after the game. Like, we're all walking down the street pissed off we got our ass kicked by the Bears, and the first thing he's excited to do is text our friend George, ha ha ha, like.
And what did he do after every single game? What do you guys do after every single game?
That he was playing at MVP level, and you know what it is.
You can give it, but you can't.
You know what's funny that you actually are rooting for the guy to fail.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. You'd be so excited. You are so excited. It's funny that I'm excited to text a positive thing. Lions won, Jared Goff. You are so excited to text. You didn't even pick your phone up, guys, on Sunday and said Jared Goff had a great game.
When I was at Touch a Truck with my child, playing with him. Sorry, I couldn't take your call for you to yell at me about Jared Goff, man. Come on.
No. But you had the time. That's why you had the time on a Sunday.
Let's remember we have a show, and not the audience is not in the group chat, so they don't
Listen, this is the problem here. It's everyone that's like on board Jared Goff. They just can't understand how someone couldn't love the guy. And when someone's like, "Well, another team gave up," a professional sports team in the NFL that has a good history gave up on him.
How many teams give up on players all the time?
And then they won when they made that decision.
And you know what? They wouldn't have won if the guy picked them out. San Fran guy dropped a Hail Mary right in his hands.
And we
in the
won
NFC Championship
Chicago
games.
If he didn't drop the pick six, what's your point?
You're acting like Master Stafford went there and won them a Super Bowl. Did you see how many moves they make that? Beckham, on defense, Ramsey. Like that team was loaded. Oh, wait. Now golf. Now we're only winning at golf because it's a full team. And he has an offensive line, and he has receivers, and he has a great running game. But Matt Stafford went to Rams, and he did it all by himself. All by himself.
And Cass, this is why we don't bring up Jared Goff and long-term extensions.
I don't even give a fuck about Jared Goff that much.
Is why people get so upset about that. Like when people can't have a differing opinion on a quarterback.
I watched Matt Stafford be a pussy in Detroit and lose us games when he had a chance to beat the Packers on Sunday Night Football for a division, and he just failed in the fourth quarter. Bad pass after bad pass. That's what I watched him do. I watched him 13 years here come to Detroit, and I love Matt Stafford. And you know what? He couldn't deliver us. He barely could deliver us a 5-game win season. Barely.
That's all on him.
And, a lot of it, yes, it is on him.
So it's
a lot of it.
Quarterback losses
him and Kelly.
Quarterback losses with Stafford and quarterback wins with Jared, right?
No, not at all. But you are saying that I just talked about Jerry. Like, well, he makes the read, he doesn't make the play, and he has this great offensive line, and he has Amon and Laporta, and he has all this. But then Matt Stafford went there, and he just said, "LA, I got you."
All right, we're gonna cap the.
Like when you win it, I don't know whatever evidence you need when you win it.
We're gonna cap the Jared Goff long-term discussions for postseason here. What do we have anything else? We wrapped up most of the Broncos. We're going to be doing a preview show. Either we got to talk about it off air Thursday or Friday for the Vikings game coming up. So check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're going to update you guys as to when the next show is. Like I said, either Thursday, Friday. I imagine probably Thursday because my brother's coming in Friday. So same time Thursday. Do we have anything else for the Broncos?
Game this week?
What?
Game this week or no?
What's that? Wait, what did you say?
Is there a Thursday game this week or no?
Yeah,
there's a Thursday game this week.
New Orleans and your boyfriend Maddie. Listen, I love Matt Stafford. It's New Orleans at Rams, I believe. Matt Stafford prime time.
I got no ill will to the guy won a championship. I'm happy for the guy because he went through a lot of shit here. And now I hope if they come to Detroit, I hope Goff hangs 5 touchdowns on him and he throws 5 picks. Like that's what you don't understand. You can't separate the things. Like I can. I can separate fandom and like an analysis of what I think of a player.
You have never given Jared Goff a compliment if he
guys, we got to stop. No, we got to stop arguing. Let's argue off air.
You couldn't even come in today and be like, yeah, he just made the right read. You don't even know what he sees at the line and what decisions he makes.
Matt, I'm just gonna say one thing. Powell can just watch my first little spiel I did in the beginning. I said Goff made every